1 Samuel chapter 21. David and the priest Ahimelech. David went on his way while Jonathan returned home. David came to Nob to the priest Ahimelech. Ahimelech came to meet him and asked, trembling, "Why are you alone? Is there no one with you?" David replied, "The king sent me on a mission and strictly ordered me not to tell anyone about it. Because of this, I have decided on a place where I shall meet my men. Now what do you have here? Can you give me 5 loaves of bread or whatever you have?" The priest answered David, "I do not have ordinary bread at hand. There is only holy bread. If your men have no relations with women, they may eat it." David answered, "Indeed, we have abstained from women these days since I set out." The young men remained sexually clean, though it was an ordinary expedition, and today they are clean. So the priest gave him holy bread, for there was no other bread. This was the bread of presence, which is replaced by fresh bread on the day it is removed. Yet one of Saul's servants was there that day, detained before the Lord. He was Doeg the Edomite, and he was Saul's chief shepherd. David asked Ahimelech, "Do you have a spear or sword with you?" "I did not take my arms with me because the king's order was urgent." The priest replied, "I have here, wrapped in a piece of cloth behind the ephod, the sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah. You can take this if you wish, for I have nothing else." David said, "There is none like it. Give it to me." David the wanderer. That same day David fled far from Saul. He went to Achish, king of Gath. Achish's servant remarked, "Is this not David, the king of the land? Did the people not dance on his account and sing, 'Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands'?" David understood these words and began to fear Achish, king of Gath. So as they watched, he pretended to be mad in their presence, drumming his face and making marks on the doors of the gate as he let his spittle run down his beard. At this, Achish told his servants, "Look, it is a madman. Why did you bring him to me? Am I short of madmen that you have to bring this fellow to act foolishly in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house?" 1 Samuel chapter 22. David left Gath and escaped to the cave of Adullam, where his brothers and his father's family came down to him. Then those who had problems or debts or were embittered joined him there. Thus he became their chief. He had with him about 400 men. From there David went to Mizpah in Moab and asked the king of Moab to let his father and mother stay with him until he found out what God would do for him. So David left them with the king of Moab, and they stayed there as long as David remained in the refuge. The prophet Gad said to David, "Do not stay in the refuge, go to the land of Judah." So David left and entered the forest of Hereth. Saul heard that David and his men had been spotted. Saul was in Gibeah at the time, sitting under the tamarisk tree on the high place, his spear in hand, while his servants were standing by. Saul addressed them, "Listen, men of Benjamin. Will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields or vineyards? Will he make each one of you a commander over 1,000 or over 100 men, that you should all be conspiring against me? Why then did no one tell me that my son made an agreement with the son of Jesse? No one among you had mercy on me and told me that my own son had stirred up my servant to conspire against me, as is the case today." At this, Doeg the Edomite, who was standing with the officers of Saul, spoke up. "I saw the son of Jesse come to Ahimelech, son of Ahitub in Nob. Ahimelech consulted the Lord for him, provided him with food, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine as well." On hearing this, the king sent for Ahimelech the priest, son of Ahitub, and all his family who were priests in Nob. They all came to the king. Then Saul said, "Listen, son of Ahitub." He replied, "Yes, my lord." Saul asked him, Why did you conspire with the son of Jesse, giving him food and a sword and consulting the Lord for him, so that he could rebel against me, as is the case today?" Ahimelech answered the king, "Who among all your servants is as faithful as David, the king's son-in-law, captain of your bodyguard and honored in your house? Is today the first time that I have consulted the Lord for him? By no means, let not the king accuse me or any member of my family of such a thing, for I knew nothing at all about the entire matter." But the king said, "You and your entire family shall die, Ahimelech." And the king at once commanded the guards who were standing by, "Turn and kill the priest of the Lord for having assisted David." They knew very well that David was a fugitive, but they did not tell me anything at all. The king's servants, however, refused to lift their hands against the priest of the Lord. And so the king turned to Doeg and commanded him, "Come and stab the priest." And so Doeg the Edomite drew near and stabbed the priest. On that day he killed 85 persons who were wearing the linen ephod. After that Saul put Nob, the city of priests, to the sword, killing men and women, children and infants, oxen, asses and sheep. A son of Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled to David. Abiathar told David that Saul has killed the priest of the Lord. David said to him, "I knew that day when Doeg the Edomite was there that he would surely tell Saul. So I am responsible for the death of all your family. Stay with me and do not be afraid for me, for he who wants to kill you must also kill me. You will be safe with me." Psalm 119, verse 73 to 69 to 96. Give me insight to know your commands, since I have been formed by your hands. Those who fear you will be glad, seeing that I hope in your word. I know, O Lord, that your laws are just, and there is justice in my affliction. Comfort me then with your unfailing love, as you promised to your servant. Let your mercy come to give me life, for your law is my delight. Humble the arrogant who oppress me as I meditate on your precepts. Let those who fear you turn to me, that they may understand your statutes. May my heart be blameless in your decrees, that I may not be ashamed. My soul longs for your protection. Your word is my hope of salvation. I have kept watch for your promise. When will you comfort me, I ask? I have become as dry as a wineskin, yet I have not forgotten your statutes. How long must your servant endure? When will you judge my persecutor? The arrogant have dug pitfalls for me in defiance of your law. Your law indeed is trustworthy. They persecute me without cause. Help me. They have almost put an end to me on earth, and yet I have not forsaken your precepts. In your kindness give me life, that I may keep your commands. O Lord, your word stands forever, firmly fixed in the heavens. Your truth lasts throughout the ages. You created the earth, and it stands firm. Your ordinances endure to this day, for all things are made to serve you. If your law had not been my delight, I would have perished in affliction. Never will I forget your precepts, for with them you give me life. Save me, for I am yours, since I seek your statutes. The wicked lie in wait to destroy me, but I look to your decrees for salvation. I saw that all perfection is limited, but your command is boundless. Luke chapter 22, verse 1 to 30. The conspiracy against Jesus. The feast of unleavened bread, which is called the Passover, was now drawing near, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for a way to kill Jesus, because they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered into Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12, and he went off to discuss with the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard how to deliver Jesus to them. They were delighted and agreed to give him money. Judas agreed, and from that time he kept looking for an opportunity to hand him over to them without attracting a crowd. The preparation for the Passover. Then came the feast of the unleavened bread, on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. So Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and get everything ready for us to eat the Passover meal." They asked him, "Where do you want us to prepare it?" And he said, "When you enter the city, a man will come to you carrying a jar of water. Follow him to the house he enters and say to the owner, 'The master asks, where is the room where I may eat the Passover meal with my disciple?' He will show you a large furnished room upstairs, and there you will prepare for us." Peter and John went off, and having found everything just as Jesus had told them, they prepared the Passover meal. The Last Supper. When the hour came, Jesus took his place at table with the apostles, and he said to them, How much I have longed to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I shall not eat it again until it finds its completion in the kingdom of God." Then he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he said, "Take this and share it among yourselves. For I tell you that from now on I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." Then Jesus took the bread, and after giving thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And he did the same with the cup after the meal, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you. But the hand of the traitor is with me on the table. The Son of Man goes as it has been decreed, but alas for that man who betrays him." So they began to ask one another which of them would do such a thing. The role of the disciples. And they also began to argue among themselves which of them should be considered the most important. And Jesus said, "The kings of the Gentiles rule over them as lords, and those who oppress them call themselves benefactors. But among you it must not be like that. Let the greatest among you become as the youngest, and the leader as the servant. For who is greater, the one who sits at table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who sits at table? Yet I am among you as the one who serves. But you have been with me and stood by me through my trials. Because of this, just as the kingship has been given to me by my Father, so I give it to you. You will eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and you will sit on thrones and govern the 12 tribes of Israel."